Welcome to the Tashkeel talk. Briefly, Tashkeel was established in Dubai in 2008 by Sheikh Latifa bint Maktoum bin Rashid Al Maktoum with the aim of nurturing the growth of contemporary art and design practice rooted in the UAE. Its membership organization offers professional artists and designers living and working in Dubai access to a vast array of facilities, workspaces, and support. Tashkeel's public program provides exciting workshops, tours, lectures, and talks. The Tashkeel Talk series features inspiring practitioners and professionals working at the forefront of international visual art and design. It seeks to highlight technical innovation, shine a spotlight on pioneering practices, and provide important insights. Today, I'm very happy to welcome Hector Esrawe. Hector was born in 1968 in Mexico City. He received his industrial designer degree from the Universidad Iberoamericana. In 2003, he launched Esrawe Studio, a multidisciplinary design practice, which he still runs today. Esrawe's design includes a great variety of typologies, from furniture and objects to interiors, commercial spaces, installations, and cultural exhibitions. His work is defined by the great passion and respect he feels towards objects and furniture created by hand, together with the use of contemporary technologies and industrial processes. Hector firmly believes in collaboration and multidisciplinary interaction. He is a co-founder of EWE, Vicio, and Masa, which aim to promote Mexican collectible design. He has achieved international recognition as one of AD Germany and AD Mexico Top 100 Creatives 2021, and he has received awards like Prix Versailles 2021, Boy Awards 2021 by Interior Design Studio of the Year 2020 by Design Awards, Azure Awards, and Frame Awards, among others. His work is part of the permanent collection at the High Museum of Art in Atlanta, with the Centipede Bench and the Vestigious Jewelry Collection. The title of the talk tonight is Importance of Process and Multidisciplinary Work. Hector will present his approach to understanding the value of cultural heritage, which allows him to translate it into new languages and possibilities, working hand in hand with small craft workshops through a horizontal collaboration. He will focus his multidisciplinary practice that developed through a kind of work ethic and thoughtfulness and appreciation for the craft and makers and the communities. Some housekeeping rules before we begin. Please keep your microphone on mute during the lecture. Feel free to type your comments and questions in the chat zone, or you can save them up for the Q&A session at the end. Please note that this session is being recorded. Finally, please welcome Hector Esrawe, and thank you, Hector. I leave the floor for you.
Thank you, my dear. I'm really grateful and happy to be here. I will walk you all through this, the practice to my studio, and I'm really happy to spend this time with you guys. So I take over now. Perfect.
Go for it, Hector. We're all excited about this.
Perfect. Well, the studio is a multidisciplinary studio. We aim for a constant learning. I think that will be the basis of the practice, and that learning happens through collaboration. We firmly believe that our practice get enriched out of integrating these different disciplines. Our studio is composed by architects, interior designers, graphic designers. We have for sure the technical aspect covered, and we have people, part of the team is renders, we create models. So we find this amazing space, which is not common in Mexico City. And it has become this, sorry, I need to have a sip of water, I don't know what happened. It has become this place where through this collaboration, we can interact and the teams mix with each other in order to do different typologies of projects that range from a scale of doing a small base to a concert hall. In a way, the methodology that we have created allow us, which is the one that I'm going to describe, have allowed us to work in different fields and in different scales. So what you see in here is a part of the studio. Again, what you see in here is these images describe our everyday lives in the studio. And this archive is, in a way, a living memory of our processes. We do believe that there's no wrong process. No, like actually, we are more based in process than in result. And this, we see all these archives as a possibilities or future possibilities for solutions for projects. So we keep and we maintain, try to maintain the elements that we perceive as that they have a possible possibility in the future. So I'm going to describe our work also with some words that are constant. That doesn't mean that this word is only related to the project that I'm going to display. They are words that are in constant use in the studio, and for sure they promote the values and they promote the intentions on how we create our practice. So we are a country with an incredible heritage. We are a country that, as designers or creatives, for many, many years, we used to look out from inspiration. And then we started to look with pride where we come from. We have an incredible narrative as culture. We have a naturally history. And then looking it with pride and start to use as a source of inspiration has completely created our expression, or has created our way to communicate. So I'm going to describe our methodology through a project. For example, the inspiration can come from nature. No, this is a perfume brand that I create in collaboration with Ignacio Cadena. It's a practice that we constantly do projects together. And this project in particular is a perfume brand that was inspired on the botanicals of the Americas. And in a way, we are through these images. I'm going to try to describe you how we got to the final bottle of the perfume, and it's this connection with nature. It's these shapes that are present, and really how the inspiration of the elements that exist in different, going from microscope scale through plants, have inspired artists and sculpture from all over the world. No, that can or not be, well, in this case, are not pre-Hispanic. We see some pieces of Brancusi, and we have seen how nature has inspired different cultures and different moments. And through that, and understanding a shape that is common in nature, we start to integrate all these elements and created this bottle. It looks like a simple shape. No, the idea of this piece is to have a bottle that can have an afterlife. The idea is that we can use it as soon as the perfume is gone. That is not a product that goes into waste and can have an afterlife and can be reused. So we created the narrative, we created the process around botanics, and created the branding, created the atmosphere around the perfume, and managed to do a project that really talks about elements of the botanical. The botanical or the plants doesn't know about borders. So at the beginning, we were aiming to do Botanic of Mexico, but we understood that there's a wider possibility, again, not over understanding that plants doesn't know about borders, no, and we aim to talk about the Botanic of the Americas. And this project has a connection with different aspects that are sustainability. No, it's a fair trade. We work with small communities. We work with, for example, some associations that support mistreated women, and we have tried to connect in different ways on how our projects cannot only be just, for example, in this case, is a a commercial project, but how can it only be a trade of you pay for something and you get a product? How can they really alter the life of the people involved in the project or more people? No, so when you finish the fragrance, you have the possibility to use it and not throw it away. No, in a way to create the possibility of when you empty your bottles, be able to have a piece that stay with you. And also, we love, again, the process. This is what get us, in a way to how we produce the bottle, and the different iterations that we have in order to have the final product. And the way to display it, it talks about the table of the naturalists. It talks about this exploration. In a way, we describe what species are involved, but also what was the process to create the perfume. And this is the store. We want to create a 360 degrees experience where you can smell through those artifacts that are in the middle that are blown in glass. You can smell part of the essence and create really, again, and continue with this narrative and be able to generate this connection, that goes in a deeper way with the audience than simply putting a shelving. And for sure, most of the species that surround the gardens are the ones that are integrated into the fragrances. So how, again, a 360 degrees experience, something that becomes more holistic, is in our radar on how we create projects. We evolved this project and we created the candles, and you can see some photos here of Boswell, which is a constant inspiration in our work, and how we, through the photos of Boswell or through nature, can create the base with the same intention, now with ceramics, that can have an afterlife and can be used as a coffee mug or as a base, and be able, after the candle is gone, to use it and understand also the skills of the crafts that we have in Mexico. For example, I'm actually today in Guadalajara visiting this factory, which is called Cerámica Suro. Cerámica Suro promotes the collaboration with artists all over the world, and it is still being a factory that works based on craft, processes made by hand. And we created also the display for the candles. If you go to the Chinook stores, you have a clear understanding and a contact of where the products come from. And again, the experience for us becomes relevant. How you can create a narrative that really integrates the essence of what the brands talks about. And then I'm going to jump into process, which in a way is the essence of what we do. And we work with many small workshops. We aim to promote the skills of artisans, artisans that can be small communities all over the country in Mexico, but also can be small workshops with different skills. In this case, after I read the book of Tanizaki, Praise of Shadows, I got really hooked on the relation of light through metal surfaces, or in the relation of light within the space. And I started to create, you will see it along the lecture, a series of pieces. In this case, this is part of the studies that we build around light traveling through metal surfaces. Brass has become, in a way, the expression that for me carries in a better understanding my inspiration from the book. And we work with a small workshop. We've been developing these pieces now for 4 years, and we create them for limited edition pieces for the Gallery Masa. With the limited editions, the intention is to promote a horizontal approach to these artisans, or to these small workshops, where they set the prices of their collaboration. We don't play by the rules of the market. The fact that we have an audience that can appreciate and pay for these pieces also promotes that we can be playful with the artisans and create processes and projects that not only challenge us, but challenge them. Again, we work in a horizontal way. We aim to promote and to challenge their skills. And at the end of the day, what we aim to promote also is the pride of what they achieve and what they do. So I'm happy to say that this theory, in a way, has proved right. We have a big audience of collectors from galleries all over the world that are willing to pay for limited edition pieces. And we can tell you also with pride that many of these artisans have managed to grow their workshops, and for sure we have increased our collaboration. So this iteration of the first piece growth into a second iteration also for Massa Gallery, that we decide to release the shape and allow the material to express by its own weight and capabilities, and how the space will define the shape of the lamp, if you want to call it, or light fixture, and how to the process of creating small models and maquette. We work in the studio to understand the possibilities of the final piece. And again, you see, this is come from an evolution from the first pieces that you saw. These pieces, the first one are called parabola. This is called shifting parabola, and it's how the light, in a way, creates the shape and defines the expression of the piece. And the light is contained through this shape, and also, in a way, the metal contains the light and give it the final expression. We like this interaction of these two elements, creating, let's say, a basic shape that in a way has evolved. Again, this is the third iteration, which is called solsticio, shapes that are inspired on the, let's say, futurism of the 40s, 50s, and it's this imaginary of how spaceships or travels to the moon were represented, but again, in a way, promotes the skills of the artisan. No, in a way, we work together to create these pieces. Again, these pieces for Massa Gallery, which I'm part of, and we aim with Massa to promote Mexican artists and Mexican designers in a different way. No, the idea of being able to understand this renaissance of the artisans of the crafts in Mexico, but also from other activities, like you can tell that art, design, architecture, and cuisine has evolved the last 10, 15 years into something that has catch the eye of the world. No? So Mexico is going through a moment where we are again looking inwards to understand where we come from, and we have looked with pride our past and our ancestors, and how we can translate that into new meanings and new expressions. We do not believe, and I'm talking about the studio, in the stereotype expression of our culture. We do not believe that we should freeze the expression, and we do believe more as the Japanese, that with the same rigor and the same skills and the same techniques, we can translate into new meanings and new possibilities, and it is what shapes our world. No, you've been seeing different interactions of the solsticio lamp, and how we have evolved the intentions and the expression of it into different scales and different possibilities. So talking again about skills that we have heritage since pre-Hispanic times. One of the main ones is masonry. We have extremely talented people that work with stones. Like you can see now in Mexico many sculptures, famous as Gabriel Orozco, Pedro Reyes, working with these studios and doing pieces that in a way it's not that they evoke the past, but they evoke these skills and they evoke these possibilities, and how through these skills and possibilities, again, we can create pieces. This is part of the collective EWE, which is a partnership with Manuel Bañó and Agues Alayo. Agues Alayo is from Estonia, Manuel Bañó is from Spain. And we have created this studio that is based on the skills of the artisans and how we can create a narrative that promotes those skills. I'm going to be repetitive in some things, but it's our everyday dialogue. I think we have become consistent in how we approach to the different workshops and to the different studios. And through the different projects also, if I tell you about the collaboration with Nacho Cadena, with the perfumes, or the collaboration with Age and Manu in EWE, and the different collaborations, the aim constantly is how we can approach and how we can create these new languages, these new expressions. These pieces are mostly made with basic tools, and they are made mostly by hand. No, for sure they can use some electrical tools, but the last expression, the final definition, comes out of what the hand can achieve. It gives us a speed. No, actually, I have reshaped completely my profession. I'm taking away speed. I'm taking away repetition. I'm going more into less pieces, more explorations, and start to avoid for myself, mass production or understanding repetition as something that is appealing for me. We did a Japanese restaurant with this same methodology where we create a narrative and we want to detach, with the same respect that we do for our culture, and not trying to create a stereotype expression. How we can, through our research, understand a possibility of express something that comes from that culture, but is not literal and it's not a stereotype expression of it. For example, we are seeing here the uniform of the samurais. It is called the part that covers the upper body is called the do, and how the do is built became the reference for this Japanese restaurant. For sure, the color palette, in a way, but escaping completely from being literal. And we create, this is our interpretation of how the do could be translated into an architectural shape. We have the exhaust for the teppanyaki that we need to cover that chimney, and in a way it gives us an excuse to create the expression of the restaurant. Thus, we have only one material, if you want to say it that way. Is oak wood applied, one with a dark color and one in a natural color, and that material in a way defines almost 100% of the restaurant. And how these two shapes in the opposite side of the restaurant give it a balance and gives the expression to it. On the wall, we see an abstraction of the kanjis. It doesn't aim to be a language. It aims to provide certain depth, and how, again, through light, we can express that depth, and how can create a type of language that talks about the kanjis, but it's not a literal expression of it. I'm going to take a sip of water, sorry. All of these pieces, all this construction is made by small wood workshops in Mexico. And as I said at the beginning, our practice is based in constant learning. Let's say this will describe my philosophy of our philosophy. Like sometimes I escape from being I used to be for many years like a tailor, no, and I decided not to be a tailor and play more the role of an orchestra director, where I can understand the possibilities of different instruments. But some days I'm being the director, and some days I understand my role as someone that plays in the orchestra. And for me, is as relevant one or the other. Collaboration is that. Collaboration is to sit on a table and be able to take out the ego. And as soon as you take out the ego, the only thing that can happen is that you can learn. So in a way, this image describes a bit of my philosophy of being able to play different roles, doesn't matter what it is, and mostly be focused on a practice that in a way can create. That's what creates a melody, no? That's what creates a composition. That's what creates a concert. And this is in a way an analogy that describes the practice of our studio. So we are doing a house in Mérida. Our client is extremely attached to the deco style, which we have beautiful expressions in Mexico. Some of them are in Mérida and arrive on the late 40s, 50s. But making a study, when we decide to do the house and going deep into research, we realized that deco had an inspiration on the Mayan culture and Mesopotamian cultures. And that connection, in a way, being in a Maya state in Yucatan, allow us to create something that became playful in a way, evocative in another way. And I didn't say that, but we started as a design practice, and we get involved more and more into how to connect the furniture into the space that, in a way, with time made us interior designers. So my team was composed by interior designers and architects, and eventually we get our first commissions of architecture. And now the studio is a mix of different disciplines: architects, interior designers, designers of furniture and product, graphic designers. And we have work around this multiple or versatile approach with almost all of our projects. So the house, in a way, takes the principles of the deco, but it's translated into a neo-Mayan expression. We are working with local materials. The shape is not only an excuse, it is also to avoid direct sunlight. The temperature can rise really high, not as much as you can have over there, guys, but it can be extremely hot. And we have created this set of pavilions that are connected through a hallway, and the hallway becomes the connection of the house. So each of the pavilions, this is a house of a photographer and a mixology expert, and how this interaction of the four pavilions can create the environment and the possibilities of their everyday lives. And this is done with local materials. It aims to be able to become contextual and don't detach from what it's built there. No, our understanding, we don't believe in a style. We totally believe in understanding each project as unique, and understanding the context and understanding the capabilities of what are in the area in order to be able to do a project that it again becomes contextual. And it is like, let's say, like neo-Mayan deco, if you want to say deco, if you want to say it that way. I don't want to invent a language for it, but in a way it talks about of these connections, how we can make this translation and create a language that can be contemporary, but again is inspired from our roots, and in this case it creates a dialogue between deco, no, Mayan and contemporary. These terraces that not only create the connection on the hallway below, but also provides shade and the use of hammocks in the evening, so you can really use it and connect. For example, on top of the parking, we create this terrace that the house overlooks the jungle, and how we can create in a small house, 300 meters, all these interactions and all these possibilities that allow you to have different moments. This is the back patio. So going back to our methodology and altering scale, no, this is a piece that you saw already from Ewe. I had the chance to visit the quarries in Italy. I went to visit a quarry, marble quarry, and to do after that, I was invited by the owner of the company of the marble in Mexico to do a design center. And the design center, for me, I couldn't be able to detach the images that I saw when I was there from what I want to express in the space. So you can see this model that the left part is the storage. It's about 7,000 square meters, 6,000 square meters, something like that. And the front part is the design center. So for me, the design center in a way needs to express the monumentality of the quarry. It needs to be an experience. But if we go back of how we connect to our clients and how we want to create a different approach of not only doing the trade of buying materials, marble or wood, and just paying the money, we want that every project that we create have either a social or a cultural approach. In this case, we decided to create not a shop, not a warehouse, but a cultural center. So this cultural center, being the design center, will also promote, for example, this is the access. No, you find this facade that will not tell you what's happened on the inside. You go through a narrow entrance and connect to this type of agora where they promote exhibitions, no, a sculpture. They lend this space for architectural studios in Guadalajara, which is the city that I'm now. And you can have a talk with, if it's an architectural studio, they can invite the team to have a conversation, or a university can ask for it. And it doesn't involve to be a client. It's a really public space that when we say that we want with every project to convince our clients to transform the immediate environment, they arrive to a shopping mall in a really saturated area in Guadalajara. But it has become, in a way, a place where students of architecture, designers, they have made concerts, they have made many talks, there have been many artist exhibitions, and how with a space that actually they sell materials, you can create a connection with the community. And on the other hand, it has played them so well, and they have expanded their clients' interest so much that all of their projects now have this component embedded. So they promote, again, exhibitions, they have a gallery, they have a library, they have a coffee shop. You don't need to buy nothing in order to have access to this space. So when you access to the lobby, you overlook the size of the scale of the warehouse where they have the inventory of material, and you keep walking around the design center where we try to express with an example the possibilities of the materials, and we created all these environments that are meant for the architects to use with their clients and be able to show and display the products or spend an evening working there. And this leads us to another project that sadly was not built, which is a cave that is created between a residual space of two buildings, like the parking of one of them and the foundations of the other. So we found this space, which is a cave, a cave again that comes from a void between two buildings, and from the same clients, we were requested to create a cultural center for just to exhibit non-common materials, like one-of-a-kind materials. And with this space, this is a collaboration with the American artist Brian Torin, we created a concert hall, and we created a gallery, and this multifunctional display space. Sadly, COVID hit exactly when we were about to start construction, and it was put on hold. We don't know if it's going to happen or not, but it is a project that I like a lot, and it talks about how a space that was an accident in a way have so much potential to become a cultural space. And if it's created with the right narrative, can play both the role of business and can also be something that works with the community, no, to the creative community, to promote and to create spaces for interaction, for talks, for with different narratives. And you can see the residues of a construction. Or you can see all the poor concrete that are remains, and we're using it as if it's a natural topography, and we maintain it as part of the expression of it. And it led us to the third iteration with Arca, no, with this marble company. And we created a showroom in Miami in a neighborhood that is called Wynwood, that is intervened by many artists, and mostly the expression of the neighborhood is through graffiti. And we invited the Danish studio Superflex to our piece, or our intention was more than a design intervention, to create a canvas, and we design a tile. And the tile becomes like let's say like a pixel, where that was delivered to Superflex to create a facade that they base on the colors of the Mexican money, the Mexican bills. And the project is called like a force of nature. It talks about how money, no, in a good or in a bad way, reshapes the expression of many cultures. And this is the intervention. Again, our role here was to create more a canvas, and how we can create a dialogue with a neighborhood that is expressing color. No, it's full of, you can see, it's full of graffiti, and is surrounded by different expressions of art through graffiti. And how we can approach showing what we are as a brand, what we sell as a brand, but with the same principles of promote art. This place has become a gallery that hosts different shows from architects, artists, and designers, but also, again, is a design center. So how through intuition, how we only work on theory, so we have sometimes a scientific approach, but we do believe in our intuition to create processes. In this case, it's a collaboration again with EGWE and the glass factory called Nouvelle, where we, instead of creating metal molds, we create stone molds that are made with volcanic stone, so we can get the texture of the stone. We invited a metal workshop to create the plate, and we created this series of lamps that are limited editions, that is a blown glass. Each piece takes around 3 months to be done, each lamp, and it involves 4 workshops to be done. Again, these pieces are a limited edition of 7 pieces, different colors, different scales, but how, again, through the same workshops, we can create an expression that becomes unique, that show the mastery that they have to do their techniques, and will allow us with different colors or different palettes to create a whole range of pieces of light fixtures that creates a beautiful collection. No, we love what happens around these pieces, and we love mostly how they are done and how they are created. This is another project. This is a limited edition brand that we created with Emiliano Godoy and Brian Torin, and we work around also mostly glass. And this is a mold that is not a common mold. These are fins of wood. And the idea is that as soon as the fire gets it, like the glass, the melting glass gets in contact with the fins, they will start to burn. But in a way, the glass will be altered. So every time you put the glass into the piece, the mold had changed from the previous interaction. So it, as you can see, when you blow inside it, it starts naturally a fire. And we take out that glass piece, we blow a new one, but the mold is not the same in each occasion, it becomes random. So what we conditionate is the intention, but the result, you can see this is the same mold through different moments, and how the shape is a random shape that comes out of a principle of entropy, that we have created through the mold. And wind conditions, air conditions, temperature can reshape in every moment each of the pieces. Also with Visio is this piece that is called precarious. What holds together the two metal plates is the glass. In a way, you remove the glass, the plates will collapse. And is how we create this interaction and how we challenge ourselves to promote other possibilities rather than the regular ones on how these two studios, the metal and the glass, can interact and create new pieces. This is another piece called Exquisite Corpse. And to the principle of Exquisite Corpse, we choose 3 molds, each one of us, Brian, Emiliano, and me, that we connect in the randomly and create out of 3 molds of previous artists in the factory. We go and randomly select and create these new connections of pieces that emerge as a new dialogue. You can see half shape of each of the pieces, and as soon as we put them together and we blow glass on them, we create something completely new. In the factory that I'm visiting today of ceramic that I talked to you about before, we created like 6 years ago this piece also that is called Fold. Is around 20 pieces of ceramic, but it is mostly like if you're bending a sock that has 2 colors, how this interaction of bending, like metaphorically bending ceramics can create different shapes, but in all that random expression, how you can assign different uses to each one of the shapes. You can see the piece evolving here, and how these interactions can create different possibilities. So I have created the exhibition design for this for Ceramic Azuro. Actually, I'm coming here today to dismount the exhibition. This is the personal collection of Jose Azuro, which is the owner of the factory. And he asked me to create the exhibition design for the collection, and we created with the molds a piece that welcomes you in the museum, and in a way talks about what you're gonna see inside. Talks about process, but mostly I skip some images. Sorry, I'm gonna there's a mistake in there. I'm gonna skip this one. So I don't know, Eva, how much time we have left. Or we okay with time?
Just go for it, Hector. We're enjoying this.
Okay, so I'm going to skip this one because there was a mismatch of images. So collaboration again, I'm going to jump into rigor and devotion. Something happened in between, I'm really sorry. So in a culture like Mexican, where many people, it's not my case, is extremely Catholic and devoted, the use of candles in altars is a common thing that you see all over Mexico. If you visit naturally churches, if you visit some temples, if you visit during all the celebrations of Day of the Dead, candle is a constant and a present element. And what attracts me more of that image is actually the leftovers, what happened with the wax that melts. So I was thinking of a way to contain that expression. I love, as I think many of you do, to play with wax, and the remains of what happened with a candle. So for me, was also to create a random interaction, to create a structure that will hold that candle, and through the time, and it's obviously an exercise of time and how time can create an expression, and to inhabit this structure with wax. and see wax take over, the piece. And for sure, the idea here is not for someone that is too obsessive, because you will need to clean the structure as soon as you use it once, or to maintain it as a sculpture. But it is more of the beauty, or a beauty that I consider is there, of how the random interaction of the wax with the metal creates and inhabits the pieces. This also was made for Masa Galleria. And talking about elements of worship, with Ewe, one of our first collections was aimed to create abstractions of elements that either we find in a pre-Hispanic museum, or we find in a church, and how mixing those symbolisms create a collection that it's not aimed to represent one belief or the other, and in a way it just talks about elements that religion in a way has shaped craft, like most of the most beautiful crafts that has been done in many cultures are elements of worship. So how in a way those shapes can create an expression, how to nurture to those memories can create a new expression. And it is what is attractive to us. These abstractions of elements that are found in churches or temples can have an expression. And this is my last project that I'm going to share with you. This is actually on exhibition now. It's the last project for Masa Gallery. These pieces are in a way a continuation of the lighting pieces, but it is also an obsession on how repetition can create shapes that becomes extremely attractive to me. If we talk again about elements of worship, these halos that are a representation of a person that is illuminated or have a connection with a higher, it has become more as expression, something attractive to me. But it is more the beauty, rather than I see myself as someone religious. But I love the expression of it, and I love to visit temples and churches, because this is a common thing that happens when you have in different cultures someone that is touched by the hand of God or has a higher understanding of life. There's always a halo and like a sun ray, and I want to represent that. And also the repetition, how through repetition you can achieve an endless shape. And this is a bench that I also made for this iteration of Masa, which is exhibiting now in New York at Rockefeller Center, and it's going to be there if you're in town for the next couple of weeks. And how through repetition, this is not just a random shape, the elements that are altered or that are not aligned with the others have a structural intention, but it's the same shape with different lengths, but the same shape over and over. And to create this bench that in this case has a limit because we need to transport it, but the principle is something that can work in an endless or infinite way. Thank you.
Thank you, Hector. This has been really interesting just to see a general, like starting from the perfume bottle, which is like this very tiny object, that the intimate object that is close to our skin, but then seeing that skin kind of translate into bigger, habitats, human habitats. That is amazing. Thank you for this kind of run through your different projects. I'm going to open it for Q&A, and maybe I can start off with my first question. Any of the participants online, feel free to either raise your hand or just type your question in the chat box. I'm just interested because you repeated a lot, Hector, this word repetition. And I know that, you know, at some point from the things that I've read, that you were not interested, like the kind of process you go through, that you're not interested in formulas or repetitions per se, but in the process. But also the process itself involves a lot of repetition. And you spoke a lot about this mode of collaboration with craftsmen, which is also based on repetition, but each time it is repeated, it's redefined. So these processes are redefined within new narratives. So I wonder, how do you define repetition? Like, is it just a tool of abstraction? What kind of repetition?
Well, in a way, I think it can be managed in different scales. When you're talking about doing the same chair 10,000 times, is a part of the repetition that I'm starting to avoid. When you're talking about through a repetition of an element, you can create an expression, is the repetition that I'm attracted for. So, so maybe it's the same word, but it has a completely different meaning. You know, like repetition as a speed, I'm not interested in that. Repetition as a continuous element that can create out of an offset or out of continuity a shape, I'm really attracted by that. No, it happens a lot in nature. It happens a lot in the way flowers and trees are created, and I'm extremely attracted to that.
Yeah, I mean, there's you kind of put your finger on something that I also wanted to ask, which is the duration, right? Like the slowness in repetition that comes with every mold that we see that is done by hand, right? From the different molds that you showed us for the different projects. That slowness in creating these molds handmade and then creating these elements over and over again, but every time it feels like an act of emancipation, like an act of freeing this mold at some point.
Yeah, it is. The beauty of it is a living process, and I do believe, and I think many people that I collaborate with also, we share philosophy. We do believe that sometimes randomness and accidents are part of what makes us human. No, for sure. If we connect, like, not as an excuse, which is a dangerous word, accident, if it's applied as an excuse, but it's applied as an intention. And if it's an understanding of something that can happen out of a unique object, then it becomes attractive. No, it's not the excuse of something that didn't happen as we expected, but also this randomness that comes through a process. The unexpectedness through a planned process is different than the unexpectedness of something that we don't know about. No, I don't know if I'm explaining myself, but we like the accident as part of the expression of the process. There's a few pieces that I show at the beginning when we start to talk about the stonework, that when we start to visit the workshop, we saw some of the pieces there, and they were in process, and we really call that collection unfinished because of the beauty of what happens of something in process and has the accident embedded in it. So while we're talking, or you go to the next question, I will stop on that image so you can keep the conversation.
Diego Diego has a question. He's raised his hands. Diego, I'm going to unmute you, or unmute yourself, and please go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hector, this has been amazing. I will ask my question in English just so that everyone can understand, but I'm also from Mexico and I'm just completely like blown away by your work. I have so many things running into my head.
Thank you,
but
Diego.
one of the things that came to my mind with, Heba mentioned the fact that the emancipatory element in the work of the repetition, and how like some of the processes are involved with entropy, but also at the same time this huge focus on craftsmanship So my question in relation to this focus on craftsmanship, like, do you see the work of the studio as being almost a rebel against the world that is constantly now pushing us to, to the mass production, to the, I just keep thinking about, in the creative world that they're like pushing for NFTs and things that really push away from the handmade. Like, do you see the work of the studio as fighting that kind of general direction, or how do you conceive managing the work of the studio through this kind of push in the general world?
Thank you, Diego. A pleasure. I can tell you that fortunately, I will say that it can be an act of rebellion, but it's not because we are too many. In a way, in Mexico, it's happening in all the directions. As I explained, it's happening in cuisine, it's happening in architecture, it's happening in interior, it's happening in art. For example, there's a word, there's a saying that Carla Fernandez, the Mexican fashion designer, said that the future is made by hand. And it's really something beautiful, because we do believe that, again, this is not a war against technology. Actually, I love technology, but it's an understanding of different speeds and where you wanna be placed. And I do wanna be placed in something that I can touch and enjoy and live, and it's not detached from something that I can. I'm not finding the image that I want to show you, but I'm going to keep on running the image. So in a way, is that, Diego? In a way, for us, is I believe more and more I'm getting rid personally of projects and processes that I either corporate or doesn't have I'm going to say it, a soul.
Yeah.
If I cannot work with clients that understand the possibility of creating a change or have a cultural or a social approach in the projects, I'm not interested anymore. I think there comes a moment where I can be comfortable, taking, I have worked for many years, or I don't want to be comfortable. I think to have turbulence is something that can make you feel alive, because if it becomes warm and cozy, it is something that is completely not attractive to me. So in a way, yeah, it's a constant challenge. It is a thing of understanding and learning, as I said at a certain moment. Like for me, I mostly invest all my resources, profits of the company into learn and into understand possibilities and into develop things. I do not believe in. I don't aspire for the vote or the judge. I really don't care about that. But it is this, it is the possibility to be able to spend my money researching and understanding all these possibilities.
Mariam has also raised her hand. Mariam, do you want to go for it? Unmute yourself and please ask your question.
Hello. Thank you very much for the lecture. Interesting works and projects you have done. I even decided to join the lecture only by seeing the pictures, even before reading the lecture brief. My question is, do you have an advice for young designers? And the other question is for Tashkeel. Will you upload this lecture in your YouTube account?
I'm going to answer it very quickly. Yes, we will. It will be on YouTube. So just wait a week or so, and it will be uploaded online on our YouTube channel. As for Hector's answer of your question, I'm going to leave it for him.
Yeah, thank you, Marion. It's a pleasure. Well, can you ask again the question? It's like I got a bit confused. Can you ask again the question?
Yeah. Do you have advice for young designers?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you again. Well, actually, and I don't mean to be rude with this, is my advice is that don't take advices. The thing is, each individual is unique. Mostly I will tell you that you need to understand your context. There's no formula. What works for me doesn't mean that can work for other. It is mostly, I will say, if I need to say something, it's about passion. And it's to be convinced. And no, like I can tell you that I don't know in which scale. Sometimes I have been a big company, sometimes I have been a small company. But what is a constant is that I'm a designer. So in a way, for me, it is related on passion, and I can tell you, like knowing through time, that there's no formula that can apply on others. I think the relevant part of it is what are you willing to do and how far you want to take your passion. And I think that eventually will lead you to an answer, whatever that answer is. But I don't see this as a formula that I tell you, if you follow step 1, 2, and 3, you will achieve something. No.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Mario.
Thank you, Mariam. I mean, Hector, like the Esrawe studio creations are always based on this like constant exploration of new processes and also the expression of materials. And you've like showed us a wide array of different materials that you've experimented with. So I'm just curious on how these decisions, like how do you decide we're going to use this material here, we're going to explore this rather than that? How do these decisions happen for you?
Well, it is in many ways. There are some pieces that becomes almost natural when you do a lamp to use glass or be able to use textile or metal. Either but then you can decide to use wood. But there are some others that is just the intrigue. For example, when I talk about the book of Tanizaki, I like my message, the one that I got is he describes a scene in the book where someone walks with a candle through a metal surface or through a golden surface. Yeah. And he described it so beautifully that for me, the immediate connection was brass and light. So it is not something that it's a constant. It depends on the project. It depends on the occasion. For example, all the limited editions that you see for sure doesn't have a brief. The brief is created within the process. But the project like Arca has the Marble Design Center has a really big brief of what they need. And I need to play in both directions and create an understanding that I cannot be detached for the actual needs of my client, but how we can create something that breaks the paradigm and have an approach on its own and becomes unique.
I mean, it's interesting that you kind of like pick this one kind of poetic visual from Tanizaki's book, because what I kind of saw that you've referenced also in some of the work that you've done with regards to Tanizaki, it's like there is no edge, like there's a blurring as well between when one thing starts and when the other ends. And I see it a lot in the lights that you showed. I think it's Parabola.
Yes.
There is like there isn't like the inside, the outside, the edge, the like they're all there's a blurring of that, and I saw that as well in Tanizaki's book, where he describes these different domestic scenes, but then they're blurred into each other. So you're moving from different scales and different perspectives continuously.
Yeah, I like that. Like again, for me, I don't believe in the word style. I believe in exploration, and for sure, I may tend sometimes to fall into something that is unconscious, something that becomes attractive and lead me, and many people can find maybe some patterns in my work, but it's not by intention. Actually, I try to escape from myself over and over. I don't believe when we talk again the word repetition, need to repeat myself in order to achieve a formula that can be something that defines me. I don't care about that. No, actually, I care about to explore. I care about to challenge myself. And for sure, if you see it in another path of many designers, which I'm not criticizing, sometimes a formula becomes their success. No, the fact that they can repeat something over and over. Yeah. But it's not something that is attractive to me at all. Like, I think I will literally die if I am not having new stimulation.
But I'm also like, it's also interesting to see how even the choices of materials that you do, whether it's a poetic interpretation or based on clients, as you mentioned, on like clients' needs, the idea of like redefining the afterlife of these objects, or the function of the object itself as it is alive, and also the afterlife of it. And we saw it in the perfume bottle. We saw it in different places also in the images that you showed us.
There's a terrible word that was invented. I don't know if it was 40s, 50s, that is called obsolescence. No, this possibility of objects to have a determined amount of time in life, and then you need to redo them. And I think we are suffering today as humanity the consequences of it. And for me, have been always attractive the fact that if you go to a place and there's an object that you know is been there for generations, or it's been there. Actually, there's a question that they made to Charles Sims that is also has become part of a philosophy in a way. Like, they ask him in this series of questions, that is questions and answers, 12 questions, something like that. The person that interviewed him asked him, you think design is art? And the answer is amazing. He said, like, if you design a product or a process that is applied in a moment through a generation, and that process or product travels through time, and it still have the same use and capabilities for future generation, then it becomes art. No, like that is actually the opposite of obsolescence. No, is
No, this is amazing. I love that quote. I'm going to ask you for it later on.
With pleasure.
But this is great. Like, the fact that it kind of outlives and it kind of redefines its function and its afterlife is an interesting notion. You use the word a lot, this idea of honesty, like kind of exploring the honesty of a material. And I'm very curious on how you define honesty.
Well, in a way, it is a conscious process. In a way, is to understand that the more ornaments a piece has, is more detaching from an idea that is strong or striking. And the honesty of the material is use its qualities to create the expression of the piece, no, or the intention of the piece. It is mostly based on that, and we can apply it in many other ways. The way we interact with artisans, the way we close the deals, economical deals with the artisans, the way we make our negotiations with them, and it is always in a way that if we are not all benefit, then we're doing something wrong, no?
Do you see, like, how do you see the design status, or like now, like, what do we need in the world that we're living in now, in this historical moment? What do we need in terms of like design? Like, what is lacking in terms of what we're doing?
Well, I would say in 3 words, because it's something that I apply. I'm not saying that what I'm doing is what defines design by any means, but what I'm saying is what shaped my philosophy is also a belief of what I think needs to be done, no? And it can be limited to many other people, but it's like I think we need to have a narrative. I think we need to have a context, and we need to be conscious, and that will, and I think a lot of design lacks of one of those ingredients, no? Either it's conscious, or it's contextual, or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're, you know, like when whether we're working with craftsmen or working in general as creative people, there's always this need to become universal in some sense, you know, like kind of abstraction to the level of losing its intimate contextual elements. And I wonder, how do you defy this in the work that you do, although you also use a process of abstraction at some point, but I think it's at the limit of preserving its, like, being honest.
Can you say that again? I lost you for a second.
So I was saying, as creative people, we're always pushed to the limits of creating things that seem universal. Like everyone needs to understand it. Everyone needs to figure it out from the first moment, whether you're an artist or a designer. And I wonder, what is the fine line between being understood or being universal and preserving the intimacy of the context?
Well, I think the more honest you are, I'm going to use the word again, with yourself, I think the more or the less you want to create something that it's an expected expression of, for example, of what Mexican design look alike. I have been convinced of, or not only convinced, I always fight the idea of a stereotype expression of our culture.
Yeah.
And I think just doing your work in a conscious way and not fall into the trends of what's happening everywhere, I think I'm talking again on my own experience, had lead me to do what I want to do. And for sure has been appealing to others, not to everyone. No, and I'm sure the fact that we as creatives, sometimes I receive questions like how you became internationally known. No, I don't care about. I never care about that. No, I always care about doing design, and if it becomes appealing to someone else, amazing. No, but I don't wake up every day and see how I'm gonna please more people. Like it is about what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna learn, how I'm gonna make my project survive, how I'm gonna make. I'm excited because I'm gonna go to the new glass factory, or I'm gonna go to do this new copper factory or this copper workshop. Like that. That's what in a way excites me every day.
I also kind of, these are some of the questions that I also face on a day-to-day basis, which is like creating design. There's this tendency to creating design for a certain class of humans that can afford it. Designs that are almost always catered to upper class VIP kind of audience. And I wonder, how do you navigate this, you know, between making design that could apply to all classes, or design that is functional or creates interesting encounters with different people, versus objects that are just in private collections and only are exposed to certain kinds of classes of people?
Well, I see it in different levels, and I don't see design as something that is white or black. No, I see a
grayscale,
a specter of grays. That is where I'm interested. We work projects that are for sure for a type of audience, and for me, when we work with limited editions, it is also about how we can promote certain skills and how we can maintain certain techniques, and how we can not, because if they get in disuse, they will disappear. And since they don't follow the rules of mass production, they tend to disappear. No, that's in a way doesn't mean that I'm not attracted to create unique pieces and one of a kind. But we do work in projects that are pro bono or social. We work in the full spectrum. We, for example, develop a collection for social, of furniture for social housing. and we put it online to be like actually the platform, which is super sad, no, it's not online now, the project that holds all the projects of all the designers, but we do work either with social projects. So we do work, for example, with institutions, and yeah, like again, for us is the full spectrum. Like design needs to happen for everyone, no? And I think design has the power to really change perceptions and really alter the way we see life. And I'm not talking just about the possibility of buying something. Like we see interactions of design, no? When we do a park, or when we do projects that for the communities, or when we do interactive projects to link the communities, we do them through design, but the outcome is social. No?
I mean, definitely, I think also there's the drive, unfortunately, the drive to experiment and redefine certain materials. And I'm kind of referencing the glass piece with the glass and the two panels, where the glass is actually the node that holds the two panels.
Precarious, yes.
Yeah, just like also redefining the functions, like the historical functions of certain materials, finding new ways, new narratives, new stories to tell about these materials. How do you go about, because we know a lot of the content these days, it's all about, you know, the story, the narrative. How do you story tell or narrate certain objects, certain encounters? Does this happen initially in the design process that you go through, or does it happen through the process of experimentation and exploration?
I think there's all of them apply. Like there's not like a constant way to approach it. It happens. Each occasion activates a new path. What is a constant thing is the methodology, to build a narrative, to understand and to create a diagnostic, to understand the context. That is a constant thing. What like the way the project or the process is, it can be fully random, but how we narrow them into a solution, it is always through an understanding of what's the context, what's the narrative, what is the need for this, even if it's for a limited edition, what is the capabilities that we have. We stop working. In the past, we used to work on envisioning technologies that they were not even in Mexico, and why we did that, because the result was terrible, because it was an international style. But when you see what you have at hand, what is feasible, what you can do, how you can challenge that, then you have a process that is organic, and you have a process that is authentic, and then you have a process that is real. You're not envisioning something that you lack of, and the fact that you lack of doesn't mean that it's depressive. It means that you have other possibilities, It means that you have other opportunities, and with those opportunities is the ones that we are working with.
Yeah, I like, because in your presentation, I liked what you said, which you said it felt very naturally, which is you keep and you maintain certain objects when you were referring to images from the studio, from your studio, from the Esrawe studio.
Yes.
You keep and maintain objects that have a possibility in the future. And it becomes, these objects that you've showed us become possible and potential objects for things in the future, which that notion in itself is really interesting when you think of design as well.
Yes, it is that, like this understanding of mistake as something that you need to get rid of.
Yes.
I know, like in process, like a process well leading can lead you to multiple results. And if you expect only the result, you are narrowed to something that it doesn't lead you there, then the rest is waste. But if you focus on process, you can have multiple solutions and multiple results. And it is that, no? And if it doesn't, for example, we tried to do a chair that is built on a CNC robot a long time ago, and we did 100 interactions around the chair, and we decided that it was not the right path, and we like just put them aside and start all over. But it doesn't mean a failure by any means. No? It means a learning. Maybe we took it too far to do 100, but that's another thing. No, that you also need to know as designer when to stop.
Yes.
Because like there's not like a single right solution ever. It can be 100 right solutions for a thing.
Yes, yes. I think Diego has another question, so I'm just gonna give him the floor. Diego, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Heba. I'm really glad that you spoke about this idea of what keeps consistent in the methodology, right? And because I think that's exactly what allows you to like the work that you presented is not like, I wouldn't call it referential, even though that you do take a lot of consideration in terms of heritage and context. And I wonder if like, I don't know if like the presentation was done temporally, because I saw a progression of how something as, you know, like the perfume bottle was very utilitarian object. And then it, like the work that you showed us grows into a much more, almost conceptual design, if I can call it that, if there's any term like that. And I wonder if that has been conscious, it just has been, it just has happened, right? Because you also talk, I mean, you and Heba talked about this idea of, you know, the poetry, you know, the poetic element in the work. And I see the translation of the richness of our culture in many poetic ways throughout your work. So I wonder, like, if how did that happen?
Well, it has been organic, Diego. It is mostly I don't have a list of things. Like, I don't limit what I'm gonna do. No, I'm not saying I'm gonna be this and I'm gonna do that. I have never set a parameter of where I see myself when I become 30, 40, now that I'm 53. But like I don't set parameters or set doors on what I'm gonna do. I mostly set parameters on what I'm not gonna do. No, it is an open thing. It is something that is organic in many ways, and I'm open for what comes next, and I'm not putting limits on an understanding or trying to have a definition of who I am or what I do. I know who I am as a person, but I don't care who, like as a creative, I'm gonna let the door open for whatever it happens.
Thank you, Diego. Hector, يعني my last kind of question, because I think we've hugged you for a long time. I wish we could go on. This is amazing. Maybe we'll meet sometime in person in Dubai.
With pleasure.
And Lebanon, obviously.
With pleasure.
I wanted to go back to something you kind of like indirectly defined design, which I thought was really interesting, when you were also talking about the different curiosities that you have. You said understanding the object in relation with space and eventually in the space itself. And that to you is like a definition of design. And I really like that.
Well, in a way, it has defined that simple decision that I took when I was young on asking the architects that when they asked me a piece of furniture, because I started as a furniture designer, and they say, why you need the plans of the full house if I'm giving you the measure of the credenza? No, like I say, I need to understand what role the piece is gonna play within the space. So that connection eventually lead me that they invite me to do interiors, and they say, well, but I'm not gonna do interiors
Yeah.
And you're gonna deliver the box. I'm gonna do interiors. I wanna be involved since the beginning that you start the house, and that has led me to do architecture. No, in a way,
Yeah.
it is this interest of understanding the consequences of the impact of my work through the space. No.
I think Mariam has raised her hand. Mariam, do you wanna go for it before we? Mariam? Mariam?
I think it was pre-raised.
Yeah, I think so as well. Hector, is there something that you think that you want to say that we didn't ask you, or is there something in general you want to tell us before we end this like really amazing conversation we had with you?
No, mostly I'm grateful for the space. I really enjoy the possibility of have these conversations around design, and for sure, for me as creative, as a Mexican creative, to be able to talk about what's happening in my country becomes attractive. And thank you for the spot, and I'm really happy for the time we have.
I just want to say thank you so much, Hector. You've been amazing. I was telling my colleague today that just, you know, you were full on, you were so excited. I mean, the interaction was so smooth that it shows how much you're passionate about the things that you do. So thank you again for giving us this chance to talk to you, to see your work at close hand. And thank you for joining us, whoever is online, and hopefully when we put it on YouTube, a lot of people would see it as well. For more information on Hector's work, please visit the website esrawe.com. And for more on Tashkeel, follow us at Tashkeel Studio and tashkeel.org, where you will find lots more talks, lectures, and workshops to join. Thank you again, everyone. See you next time. And thank you again, Hector.
It's my pleasure. Then thank you all. And until next time.
Definitely. Thank you.
Héctor, muchísimas gracias y todo el éxito, y saludos a Guadalajara.
Gracias, querido. Un abrazo, Diego. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.